Hello friends, welcome to your Saturday night beer review. Today I have a fairly special beer for you, and that is the Verloren Gose. This is by Sam Adams. It's a lovely bottle label, don't you think? Now, Gose is a style that went extinct for several decades. And it's a very distinctive style because it's a light, top fermenting beer that instead of using hops as its main flavoring agent, use table salt and coriander. Also, too, I believe the brewing process was different, so you ended up with a fairly sour brew. Now, Sam Adams was one of the first to go and revive it. Several other brewers also revived the style, and I have a six-pack of the Anderson Valley's take on the style. And I'm kind of excited to be trying it, because this is one that has not been in Hawaii yet. So, I'd like to first preface this review by saying that you should take this review with a grain of salt. I got this at Tamura's, and as you can see on the back here, it says batch number 1. Batch number 1 came out in 2012, so this has been becoming a shelf turd for the last couple years. Now, being that this is not a heavily hopped style and is also fairly light in ABV at 6.0, it's a bit doubtful that it's very true to how it came out of the brewery. That being said, Sam Adams does say that special releases are supposed to be cellarable. I have my doubts about something this high, this low in ABV, and lacking much hops. But down that you'll go. So I'm using the Belgian glass today because I kind of want to smell this. Oh, Jesus. Just a moment, I need to blow my nose here. Okay. I always get congested after dinner. So, like I said, Belgian glass today. And lean back so it'll focus. Oh, this camera. I give up. No, you don't really need to see me all that badly, do you? Smells a little bit shelfy. We'll see here, huh? Okay. So, rather medium-bodied yellowed head. Very, very cloudy. Very cloudy yellowish orange. Wow. Quite a different smell to this. I've never smelled a beer like this before. I'm going to back away from the camera so it can refocus here. It's very thick too. These bubbles are moving up quite slowly. And the head's kind of dissipating rather quickly. Now the main notes I'm getting out of this is a very soapy smell. Not surprising because of the coriander. So here you can see here. Underneath it, a very, a smell like aged honey. Turkish Delight. Very sweet, flowery notes. Very light-bodied. This is very different tasting beer. what hits me is, from mid-palate to finish, there's a saltiness. Not an overwhelming saltiness, but sort of like a saltiness that you would get in a salted lemonade that you get from like a Vietnamese shop. Which adds to the refreshing nature of it. Now, despite the, somewhat thickness of the beverage, it's actually quite light mouthfeel. I would say that the mouthfeel is very close to a Pilsner-esque. I'm not getting much coriander, but again, this has been sitting on the shelf for a couple of years. So it's probably, I'm guessing that a lot of coriander has diminished somewhat. The front is fairly interesting. It has that aged honey thing, but without the sweetness. This is actually very dry. Which is really strange because the nose is so sweet. And I'm guessing the presence of salt lowers the, really makes it taste dry. There's a slight sourness to it, but it's very slight. I wouldn't even call this tart. It's just mildly sour. Lacing's rather interesting. It doesn't last on the side of the wall, but it seems to be regenerating itself from the carbonation. This is a very strange beer. I'm wondering if the aged note comes from the fact that the bottle is fairly old. Not that it's unpleasant, that aging. Like I said, it sort of tastes like aged honey if you went and took away that sort of sweetness from it. And you're just kind of left with those honeyed notes without sweetness behind it. And it's really interesting. The sourness is strongest in the mid-palate, and it kind of lingers at the finish, but the saltiness is what dominates the finish. That said, neither are very strong. I'd really like to try this fresh. I have a feeling that it's a bit muted right now because of its age. But it's just so radically different that it really brings out curiosity. What does good Gose taste like? And this brings me to what I'd like to end the this particular review on, is when you go and read Beer Advocate, you find that a lot of the American takes on Gose are a lot of complaints is, very carbonated, like I said, is not true to form, i.e. that it's not the same as you would get in Germany. Of course, that sort of begs the question. Well, it doesn't beg the question. That's the wrong way to use the term. But it's sort of, being that it was dead for decades, is the German Gose true to form? Perhaps there are some very old Germans who were drinking beer around the 1960s when it was last really heavily produced, who can say, yeah, this is more. But in general, I don't really like to debate those kinds of questions. Suffice to say that American takes on things generally have a stronger and sharper flavor profile. So this is not necessarily a bad thing, only in the regards that for certain English styles, I believe that the American take on the style is starting to dominate over the traditional English styles of pale ale and India pale ale, which is something that's a little bit disturbing to me. But otherwise, generally speaking, I'm not a true purist in that regard. The most interesting thing about this is not so much the taste, but the nose. It's a very strong nose. That honeyed, floral, that honey floral note, it's so sweet on the nose that leads to what's essentially a very, very dry drink. I'm actually quite liking this for the novelty, because it is just so different from anything else I've ever had. And likely it would be very different from anything else anyone else ever had. So, Verloren. It's an interesting thing. Give it a shot. And give Gose a shot in general. I'll be probably reviewing later this week the Anderson Valley take on it. And I hope you come and see it, because it's supposed to be very tart, very salty. I'm kind of curious. Are you? Prost!